this morning, a domestic one. It was broken by the Scottish Sun. There it is. It's about the Scottish Finance Secretary. He's called Derick Mackey. And online messages, I think about 220 of them, he sent to a 16-year-old boy. Now, he was due to present the SNP government's budget this afternoon, but he's now resigned. We're going to speak to BBC Scotland editor Sarah Smith in just a moment. She's in Edinburgh. But let's just listen to this reaction we've had in the Scottish Parliament from Nicola Sturgeon just as we came on air.
Based on what I knew about this last night, it was clear to me then that Derick Mackey's conduct fell far short of what is expected of a minister. Indeed, he offered his resignation to me and I accepted it was not an option for him to remain in government. This morning, of course, I have read the full transcript that was published in The Sun, and it is on that basis that he has also been suspended from both the SNP and the parliamentary group, pending further investigation. So
that's the First Minister. I mean, to put this in context, this is the equivalent, Scottish equivalent, of a British Chancellor on the day of his budget, his or her budget, having to resign because of inappropriate messages to a 16-year-old. Let's go to Sarah Smith in Edinburgh. Sarah, there are many stories are called bombshell, but they don't often live up to it. Can we agree this is a bombshell?
Oh, it doesn't get much more explosive than this, for sure. As you say, can you imagine if Gordon Brown or George Osborne, instead of standing outside number 11 with their red box on budget day, had been forced to resign because suggestive text had been splashed across the front pages of a newspaper? I mean, it is a very big scandal, and it comes on a very, very embarrassing day for the Finance Minister to have to go today. And somebody else is now going to deliver the budget speech, and Kate Forbes, who's the Public Finance Minister, is going to have to do that instead. And this isn't just any old sex scandal. These are suggestive messages that the Finance Secretary was sending to a 16-year-old boy on social media. Now, he says that he regrets his actions and he acted foolishly. Well, you should hear what the opposition in the Scottish Parliament are saying. The Labour leader says this is beyond foolish, this is an abuse of power and his actions are predatory. And Jackson Carlaw, who's the leader of the Scottish Conservatives and effectively the leader of the opposition here, says that he thinks that the Finance Secretary's behaviour meets the definition of grooming and should be further investigated. Now, you heard Nicola Sturgeon saying he's voluntarily resigned as Finance Minister. She's suspended him from the SNP and from the parliamentary group, but he is still a member of the Scottish Parliament, and there are a lot of calls here for him to stand down as an MSP, saying that this is conduct that is not fitting for somebody to be a representative of the people in the Scottish Parliament.
I spoke to someone who's at the heart of the whole SNP project this morning when this news broke, and they said that Mr Mackey was regarded as a potential future leader of the SNP. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. If there were to be a vacancy, if Nicola Sturgeon were to no longer lead the party, he would have been, until last night, the obvious choice to take over, and he was certainly the odds-on bookies' favourite to be the next First Minister after Nicola Sturgeon. Without him, it's actually very difficult to see who would take over the party if there was to be a vacancy at the top for any reason, if Nicola Sturgeon were to stand down. He was one of the best known and more talented members of the Scottish Government. He will be a loss to the government as a minister, as well as a huge embarrassment to the party that he's been found acting in this salacious way, when the party is, remember, braced already to have to deal next month with the start of the criminal trial against their former leader, Alex Salmond, on 14 counts of sexual assault and attempted rape.
And what's the word on a replacement as Finance Minister? Someone suggested to me this morning that perhaps bringing back John Swinney as a safe pair of hands may suit Nicola Sturgeon.
Yes, well, he was the previous Finance Minister. He's Education Secretary at the moment, and he certainly has a lot on his plate there as school standards are slipping and the government is facing huge criticism for that. He's probably considered to be the most capable member of the Scottish Government, which is why he's been put in charge of the most difficult brief in education. He's also the Deputy First Minister, and the other thing he is no threat to Nicola Sturgeon whatsoever. He's a previous leader of the SNP. He's made it very clear he never wants to be the leader again, and so he is somebody who she can trust never to be plotting to take over her job.
Sarah Smith in Edinburgh, thanks for joining us. A big day in the Scottish capital. We're moving on.